Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi. So, this was requested to be a recording to address what I would consider to be a critical issue that's going on right now in one particular area of the Sāsana, the Buddha's dispensation, specifically in America, where there's a group of people who are promoting a certain character, an individual who's purporting to be an Arahant, and there is the reason why I'm laughing is because of, unfortunately, the questions that have been coming at me for over a year and a half about this individual, and they've been asking me, students and fellow meditators, as to, and now that I'm a bhikkhu, asking me whether this is the real deal. I remember when about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, one of my students sent me a list of a printout, a transcript of a conversation, an interview that this person has had with an interviewer who belongs to this group of particular meditation school, shall we say, mostly based in the US. So as you notice, I'm avoiding saying names because that's not important. What is important is the efforts that are being put into place to deceive. And so this person sent me the list of things that this individual, who's claiming to be an Arahant, has given answers to these sets of questions. So I looked and was like, okay, I'm checking all these answers that I've never encountered anyone having to answer these things, by the way. It's like almost like a SAT questionnaire or something like that. And I turned to my student and I said, well, he is giving the right answers, every single one, to, in the whatever this writing is showing me. And already that's a red flag. Already that's a red flag, because by the time that an individual is going from even in the jhanas, mundane levels, and then you have the higher jhanas too, there needs to be a level of disenchantment taking place. The heart is leaning more and more and more towards the Dhamma. It has zero room within it for anything other than the Dhamma. Especially when we're talking about a noble disciple who is past the point of no return, meaning a sotapanna, meaning a stream winner. And then a sakadagami, which is a once returner, and then an anagami, which is a non-returner. Already at that point the mind is refined to such a level that it has zero concern about who thinks what about you or your attainments, period. Let alone an Arahant. So just to entertain further, or just to kind of indulge rather, the excitedness of this one particular student who had sent this thing to me, I asked him, well, is this person First of all, when was this revealed? Like when, let's say, this so-called Arahant attained the Arahanship? Do you know? And they said, I don't know. They say that he has attained it several months ago or a year ago or something like that. And the second follow-up question was this. Is he in robes? Is this person in robes right now? Doesn't have to be a bhikkhu. At the very least, does he have, has he taken the 8 or 10 precepts? Is he a novice monk? A samanera? And the person said, to my knowledge, no. And I said, there goes the Arahanship card. It's impossible. And then I explained to them as to why. And then it occurred again, so I had another student sent me, ask me, do you know about this person? And then I was already a bhikkhu, and I said, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're talking about such and such a person. They said, yes. It's exciting, isn't it, Bhante, that we have an Arahant? And I said, hold on. Take it easy. Lord Buddha has taught us again and again and again to always check, to see if there is a precedent somewhere in the suttas, and then cross-reference it with the Vinaya, where you have a lot of suttas there as well, and plenty of Dhamma there as well. And the person said, when I asked him again, is this person, he's not a monk? And they said, so what's that got to do with this? There could be exceptions. And I said, oh, no. Whoever told you hasn't got a clue as to what the Dhamma is. Yes, but so many people are hailing him, so he must be, and he's giving the right answers, Bhante. The answers to what? That's my question. So now, fortunately, I am seeing people coming forward and questioning, because this person is throwing left and right that he's studied with, yogis, he's been this, and he's been practicing yoga, he's been practicing this. Well, I'm doing this recording because these questions that you were bringing up too, which is sad, by the way, I have to say, because this thing is also hurting the Sāsana. Because this person did not come forward just on his own, because he's been trying to write books, trying to get acclaim and recognition, and nobody has been enjoying those books apparently, and trying to find a recognition. And one of the best ways to find recognition in this day and age is if you go into the mystical route, where there is no checks and balances. The gurus are shaped like this, and this person just is another version of it, or wanting to become like that. The next, Satguru or somebody like that, or next Osho or Rajneesh, who happens to be their ideal. Because we're talking about wealth, fame, a following, etc. So the sad part about this is that the seriously and harmful part about this to the Sāsana is that he has gained this recognition through the auspices of a bhikkhu, a mahatera, whom I personally know, and have known for quite some time. But this is bigger than us. I don't care if the person is mahatera. I don't care if the person has been a teacher to thousands. What I care about is how truthfully abiding is this person to the Dhamma. And I've actually met this person several times during retreats, during Dhamma talks, not the person claiming to be an Arahant, this person's supposed teacher, who said very clearly, this Mahatera said very clearly on repeated occasions, and it's on YouTube, it's on tape, it's everywhere, that if you want to know what is not the teaching of Lord Buddha, you will look carefully to see if it is only being mentioned once, or just a few times, maybe once or twice. And you would know for sure that that does not belong to the lips of Lord Buddha. It didn't come from there. It was added later. Now, if such a teacher goes back and checks the suttas, he would see definitely that claiming such a person to be an Arahant, yet still remaining a lay disciple who's enjoying wearing golden watches and, talking endlessly about his attainments and mostly about yogas and things like that, in conjunction with, yes, I've reached this jhanic levels, this and that. That should have stopped him cold at realizing quickly, very quickly, that there is 0 cases in the entire Nikayas, in the entire Vinaya, of any person, a layperson, who becomes an Arahant and stays an Arahant. Alive, that is. So, I would just laugh and say, I would have, if anyone had asked me at the time, I would have suggested to this teacher, to this Mahatera, when he got the call or somebody came in for a private interview, like this person came in for a private interview and saying, oh yes, Bhante, I've reached this, I've reached that. I was like, wow. Because people are today desperate to associate with something that is outstanding, bombastic claims. And this is one. And of course this teacher wants to be associated with that as well. And I understand that part. It doesn't make it right, of course. But I was thinking that one of the best tests that this teacher could have given this person would be, okay, fine, you're saying you're an Arahant. I'm not going to say yes or no. See me in 7 days. Or call me in 7 days. Okay? And if you have not become, in robes, if you didn't get ordained, and by the way, you need to know that you need to be in robes if you're an Arahant as a layperson, because you have about, some texts say it's 1 day. Others usually say it's like a week. And so this teacher should have said to this person, well, either you get in robes or in 7 days I should hear about your death. Okay? And that way I'll know that you were an Arahant. Okay? And I'll light up an incense stick for you in memory of But this is just comical. This is deplorable at the same time. This is shameful for both the Mahatera and, of course, for this person, both of whom are carrying now on their shoulders some severe burden. Because they are misrepresenting because they are breaking the Sāsana. Because this Mahatera is breaking tradition. And he has been breaking tradition left and right, I know that. But to get this far and to come up with your own, basically, Dhamma, your own Sāsana, because that's what he's establishing. He's establishing a new precedent. How dare you go against Lord Buddha's teaching? And then you have your own students promote this dude, this person, and always adding different things like testimonials, like testing. Oh yes, he's been doing all these neurological tests and all that, the brain scans. Why would we need that? Nowhere do you find in the suttas any Arahant trying to knock from people's doors and saying, hey, do you know I'm an Arahant? Believe me, I'm an Arahant. Venerable Sariputta did not go and knock on Lord Buddha's kuti, the door, and say, Bhante, I think I did it. No. Believe me, Bhante. No. Nowhere do you see that. And it's shameful that we have even meditators, supposed meditators, who have supposedly attained some levels of attainments, sotapanna, and even some claiming to be, anagamis or whatever, again from this group, that are believing and going in with this. Now, this has many problems, of course, because it clearly defines, it's crystal clear, that their so-called attainments were never attained. Period. Because the person who has become a stream winner, it's impossible for you to be fooled by anybody. Impossible. I don't care if Bhante so-and-so comes, your own teacher comes so-and-so and knocks on your door and says, this, something that is completely against the Dhamma. And for you to nod and say, and bow down and say, yes, Bhante, I accept it. Oh, wow, really? So basically, you would never put your Bhante, your own teacher, above Lord Buddha. Period. You would never put the teaching or supposed quasi-pseudo teaching of this bhikkhu or whoever above the teaching that we get from Lord Buddha. Ever. For such a person. That's why this person at the most has 7 more lives. Because they have entered the stream. So if you want to know whether these people that are claiming that this person is an Arahant and huddling around him, celebrating and, all that fanfare, it's comical. But it also exposes the grotesqueness of these so-called attainments, and it has become a manufacturing factory of just attainments. People go to these retreats with this particular Mahatera in the US or wherever he does it, dying to attain, and usually they come out having attained, while they have 0 sila. 0. Trust the behavior, never the words. That's what I keep saying to people. Now the good news is, with all this debacle that's going on, there's also those students who have gone deep. Now I cannot attest to their levels of attainment, but one would know from their grace, from their love and faith and confidence to the triple gem, which is unshakable, which says a lot, by the way. Such an individual can never be fooled. And those are the people that are coming out of such groups now. They're no longer believing in such things. So if anything, this is to help clarify. And that's why I'm recording this, and it's going to go online, because of, this is getting really ridiculous at this point. And and again, the fault lies on the burden of it falls on the shoulders of the bhikkhu who officiated it and who is promoting this, because that person is the one who is supposedly giving legitimacy to all this nonsense, which is adhamma. Dhamma. And it is quite shameful. And, it's so unfair to the Dhamma. And no person who has truly attained can ever put the Sāsana in such a situation, such a predicament. This is a big deal. One might ask, so what's the difference? I mean, why can't the layperson become and stay an Arahant post 7 days? Well, because Lord Buddha has made the Dhamma complete. What I mean by that is, there have been, of course, lay people who have attained. In the case of his own father, King Suddhodana, when he attained it on his deathbed. Okay? And he was already a Sotapanna. But Lord Buddha, along with his chief disciples, along with his elder senior bhikkhus, was there. And he kept on teaching him the Dhamma, and he became an Arahant, and he died. You have the same thing with Vahya. You have several individuals throughout the suttas who at the most have lived for a few days. So the commentaries, some places have said only a week, some places have said you have a few weeks. They were a little bit more generous. And other places you find it like within the same day. The person has to get in robes. Why though? Why? Remember that little thing I mentioned about disenchantment? You're breaking contact with the world, even with the jhana. Especially when you pass, you go beyond the fourth jhana. The sense of equanimity, upekkha, is so strong. You have a different set of eyes. Of course, you come out of it. It has a residual effect, of course, but eventually it wears away. But it has, so long as it has been supported by the Dhamma, because that's the thing which is going to give you more and more insights, because now you're penetrating. If you're doing it not just purely for jhanic purposes, meaning you're going all the way, meaning you want to penetrate into the three characteristics of existence. You're also applying the satta bodhjangas, the 7 factors of awakening, meaning you're also incorporating the 4 establishments of mindfulness, the satipatthana. So you're fully protected against ignorance. But why? You're severing the contact point with the 6 sense doors, meaning you are no longer attached. Slowly you're becoming, if you were that boat attached to the dock, the rope is getting looser and looser and looser. It's coming off, it's coming apart, and you are going more and more, drifting more and more towards the ocean, the free, open ocean, the open waters. Because that's the only way you're going to cross the flood, the yoga that Lord Buddha talks about, crossing the flood. So there's no way you're going to be tied into this dock while you're going to end up in the other, side of the flood. Cross it. What these people want is to have them both. Well, there is a saying in English, in America, in the United States, they say, well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's going to be one or the other. So, as the person is going deeper, they experience clearly the role that impermanence has. It's not just a cute motif somewhere that we hang on a plaque, somewhere on a wall. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Hey, yes, we have impermanence, suffering, and non-substantiality or non-self. These are not just terms. These are not just about the world outside of us. These are about us. our experience of reality, the mind has to be expanding. So we're not playing tricks. So it's not a matter of going and getting your brain scanned. Like in this case, maybe this person should get his brain scanned. But as far as showing that there is Dhamma thanks to the scan results, or, that's a joke for everyone involved. It just shows the idiocy that these people are possessed with. No wisdom there. Even though they claim that there's wisdom, it's a wisdom path, whatever nonsense. There is no personality transformation as they claim. Because that personality transformation denotes that for the person, anicca, the impermanence, is so real. Now, if the person has anicca experience, they're experiencing it with every single breath. They're experiencing it with every single thought. So they don't have time to plan out anything, to sit down and answer a bunch of questions, for example. Their experience is enough for them. They don't need to get on a loudspeaker and announce it to the world, which just shows how pathetic this person is, as well as these other people associated with them. Because, like attracts like. And there was a term I heard some years ago, that if you have a circus, you're going to end up with a clown. Sooner or later, the clowns are going to be attracted. And already I was kind of like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Every retreat there's almost like a quota. Okay, we have 2 Sakadagamis, 1 Anagami, and 64 Sotapannas there. And everybody's going to these retreats. Well, if you want, your product, unfortunately that's what it has come to, then you need to advertise. You need to advertise some cookies, some delicious things, and this is it. And this is the crown, so-called achievement of this community, where they have stooped so low, where they have started damaging the Dhamma. The Dhamma can't be damaged, of course, but the teachings in the Sāsana, they are speeding up the process of the disappearance of Lord Buddha's teachings. That's what their contribution here is, unfortunately. And my attempt here is an attempt to reach out and to remind some people to wake up and not to play around. It's not a matter of your Bhante or this Bhante or that Bhante. It's a matter of protecting the Dhamma. Because you're dealing with going to hell. Unlike what you might have liked to believe. Because there goes your whole attainment story. Because if you had attained in the first place, if you had truly attained, then you would never be able to introduce such poisonous thoughts and make your followers believe this, because the teacher has to be investigated. And unfortunately, several of the followers of this teacher have not been investigating the teacher. He is not above the teachings of Lord Buddha. For that, fortunately, we have the Vimansaka Sutta, the Sutta on investigation, where Lord Buddha even puts himself on the chopping board and says for the student to scrutinize, is the teacher's behavior matching with what they're saying? It doesn't? Well, there's a problem. Now, this has gone so far off the reservation. This is beyond. And unfortunately, the students of such a person, unfortunately, happens to be in robes, in Mahatera. They are not realizing the importance of this, and what this is also doing for their karma. It's not just the teacher's karma, it's their own karma. Again, if a person has entered the stream, they can never, ever bring in other teachings. And here, this Arahant character, supposedly, is talking about other disciplines, other things that have nothing to do with the Dhamma. Whether it's yoga, whether it's this, whether it's the Himalayan masters, it's like, I haven't heard any of his long, whatever, trying to convince the listeners that he is an Arahant, which, by the way, is another joke. No Arahant is going to try to convince anybody. He or she could care less. The dispassion, the disenchantment is so strong. There's so much contentment. And there is no... Your connection with the body is coming apart. And that's one of the reasons why we need the protection of the robes. We need the protection, the purity of the lifestyle of a bhikkhu. That's why the person dies, if they stay away from the robes. There needs to be a purity of life. The brahmacharya has to be there. The holy life has to be lived in robes, because the person has come apart from the typical societal living. They can't stand there even as a sotapanna. The desire to comb your hair is becoming so much less than yesterday, when you were not a sotapanna. Even to want to wash yourself becomes a chore. The desire to brush your teeth, to eat, becomes such a burden. Not the desire, I mean the eating part. Because there is no desire. It's dying. It's dying day by day. And by the time that the person is nanagami, good luck. So, however way they try to camouflage it, to kind of sugarcoat it, to kind of put different kind of, things on it to fool you, the fact remains. Has disenchantment grown in the person to such a point where they walk away from society instead of getting on the TV or YouTube and trying to convince me and you and everybody else that they are an Arahant? Who cares if you are? And if that's that important for you, then we got a problem, because you're full of desires, my friend. You have not even let go of the most basic fetter, sangyojana, because you have not seen the beauty of the triple gem. The heart is set on one course, in one course only. It's so powerful that it takes the person, even if they come back 7 times, it's so directed, it's like locked on target. We're talking then about a very, very powerful, fixed attitude. Fixed with devotion, appreciation, love towards the triple gem. The Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. There is no room for teacher worship. There is absolutely zero room for any other sort of teaching. Okay? It is that thing that is allowing the person to be called a stream enterer, meaning you are now going with the flow to the ocean. It's only a matter of time. The stream is taking you. That's why we call it sotapatti. You have entered the stream. That's it, only a matter of time. So you have zero time. So if you want to know who is at least a sotapanna, check their attitude towards the triple gem. That has to come first, even more so for students who worship their teachers, which I'm seeing a lot these days around the world, from here to Australia. Unfortunately, teacher worship. Nonsense! Who cares about the teacher? The teacher is, especially if they're in robes. The teachers, monks, only role if we're eating the good food that the supporters are giving us, if we have a roof over our head, the only purpose that we are alive is to attain and share the fruits of it with everyone. There is no place for us to promote, to get on a podium and get on a loudspeaker and promote ourselves. It has to be purely the Dhamma that we live for. No self-promotion, like, look at me, I've attained this, look at me, I live here in this cave, look at me, I have this. No, none of that. None of that. Convincing involved. So, this is important, because the world now is facing some serious deceptive situations where you have billions and billions of people being deceived, and then we have this from within our midst. Terrible. And of course there's that also need to find some kind of a solution, some kind of, yes, we have an Arahant here. Why are you even concerned about finding an Arahant? Go and achieve it yourself. When was the last time you sat there and actually meditated? This is to the teacher. Truly meditated. With a beginner's mind, that is. Instead of counting how many followers you have, which is ludicrous. I had one monk one time, when I was having a retreat, I offered him to come and join us. He said, no, I'm too busy because I have to go to my Facebook page and check my updates and see how many followers I have. That is what he said. This is another monk. So, ludicrous and laughable are not the vocabulary of a noble disciple. It definitely is not should not be in our vocabulary as those of us in robes, those of us who call ourselves teachers, even if we have only a single teacher, only a single student. The dedication has to be to get ourselves out of this mess. And that's why Lord Buddha was compassionate enough to give us the Dhamma, taught it for 45 years. He made sure that as much as humanly possible for a Buddha to do, he did. He put all these safeguards, but then again, you have people who just get too hot-headed, they become too so-called rogue. They go rogue because they have some following, that they want to create their own path. That's megalomania. That has nothing to do with the Dhamma. The attainments that a student experiences, they don't need validation. They don't need authentication by a teacher. First and foremost, the student must know that for themselves. There needs to be a change taking place in the mind of the student. Yes, I am a teacher. Yes, I help my students. Yes, but ultimately I always encourage students to find in themselves if there's any changes taking place, character changes, personality changes. Of course, I'm there to check how they're progressing through the jhanas, etc., etc. And yes, having a teacher there on the side to authenticate can be a good thing. But already my authentication is redundant because I'm looking for the authentication that needs to come from what I am seeing, observing, and witnessing, and definitely what the student is witnessing in themselves. So there's no need for certification. There's no need for somebody to go around and saying, whoa, look at me, my test results on the scan. They prove to me that I am in Nirodha. Who cares? Why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me this? Of course, this, as also a licensed psychotherapist, I can look at it as through the eyes of a therapist. Aha! This is where I can tear this thing apart with a whole list of diagnoses that I can attribute to all of these people that I mentioned. Meaning, every single one of these characters have to be seen by a therapist. Because there's all kinds of comparing and contrasting going on. There's so much conceit there. And if we have conceit in our hearts, there's no way we're going to taste the Dhamma. So a lot more can be said about this, but I think this should serve as sufficient, for the time being at least, for those people who are still confused, because these things, every once in a while I'm hearing about this particular incident. It's this debacle, this fake. Is it fake news? Yeah, it is news, and it is fake, absolutely. He's a charlatan, basically. And I've told this to one of my students, and about this character. But then again, it has everything to do with remember the circus I mentioned? You have a circus, the clowns are going to show up. There are people who are eager to find themselves pursuing some type of a hero to associate with it, almost like a celebrity status. Whether you're talking about Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, and people like that, famous people, and you have all people coming in and joining their fan club and things like that. The Dhamma, so-called Dhamma circles, people like this, meditation circles, it's no different. Remember the thing about worshipping the teacher? It's no different. Of course, we're not talking about Kim Kardashian or Kanye West or somebody like a famous basketball player, celebrity, No, we're talking about some so-called Dhamma teacher, even a monk. People like to associate and then feed off of that energy and feel important themselves, because they're also within the circle of whatever is the majority within that, in that world of theirs. So they huddle, and they find more meaning in numbers. The herd mentality. What does the herd do? It's a herd. It's no longer an individual. That is the quintessential, the blind leading the blind, and they're all going over the cliff. And they're all jagged rocks underneath. In the name of Dhamma, unfortunately, because none of these people are actually sitting down and doing their work. None of them. If they do their work, at least read the suttas, at least read what Lord Buddha has said about these things. And don't be afraid to challenge what your teacher is saying if it does not agree with Lord Buddha's teaching. In a respectful manner, challenge them. But nevertheless, challenge them. Instead of, fanning the flames and fueling this craziness that's going on. And so I wanted to say these words, and hopefully they can help some listeners. So I will stop here. But good questions.